Good afternoon, I'm Paolo del Rosario. This is Newsfeed on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Comelec Chair George Garcia insists there should be no more substitution of candidates in the coming midterm polls. Garcia believes this is the only way to prevent the typical problems faced by the Commission during election time. In an interview with Bilyonaryo News Channel's At the Forefront, Garcia also suggests that once candidates file their certificates of candidacy, they should already be considered official candidates.
When flying voters, absentee voting, meaning someone uses their name to vote, how are you addressing these
One thing that
issues?
we did, I proposed, number one, that there will be no substitution of candidates. And that created a lot of, well, it was welcomed by our people. No substitution. After the filing of the candidacy, in case of withdrawal, for whatever reason, there will be no more substitution except in case of death or disqualification. People will have to understand. Our present law in the automated election says, when they file their candidacies by October 1 to 8, they are not yet candidates. They are candidates only on the first day of the campaign period. Regardless of whatever stretch of interpretation the Comelec wanted to do, we cannot do that. And so, even if they file their candidacy by October 1 to 8, they will roam around, give something, speak something, or whatever. They are not yet candidates. In fact, all of their expenditures are not necessary to be included in the SOSE because they are not yet candidates.
And this is one of those outdated provisions that you're referring to as well. Like
yes,
in their
Attorney
omnibus
Karen.
election code, where
They should be candidates on the day of the filing of their candidacies.
Yes.
Former presidential spokesman Harry Roque calls the immigration lookout order plain harassment. In a statement, Roque says his inclusion in the lookout order is a political witch hunt and is intended to silence him as a critic of the Marcos administration. Roque also says he has no reason to leave the Philippines and will face his accusers and answer all allegations related to the Pogo issue. The Presidential Anti-Crime Commission said the DOJ signed the International Lookout Bulletin Order against Roque and 11 others being investigated in the illegal Pogo operations. The Philippine Coast Guard says its first ever joint drills with Vietnam is not related to the territorial dispute in the South China Sea. As Beatriz de la Cruz tells us, the exercises will focus on search and rescue.
For the first time, the Philippines and Vietnam Coast Guard will hold their first joint maritime exercises as Vietnam Coast Guard ship CSB 8002 arrives in the country for a 4-day port call in the country.
Kakandak tayo ng joint search and rescue exercise na pwede nating magamit in the event na ang dalawang panig ay magkita doon sa area at merong kailangan na magtulungan sa pag-rescue. Isa din sa scenario natin is fire explosion para mai-address kung paano tayo makapagtulungan pag-address pag merong mga ganong insidente.
The Vietnamese Coast Guard will also engage their local counterparts in other activities that will foster cooperation, understanding, and camaraderie.
The Vietnam Coast Guard officers will engage in a variety of activities, including a courtesy call to Admiral Ronnie Gilgavan, the Commandant of the Philippine Coast Guard, a visit to the Philippine Coast Guard headquarters, participation in sport and cultural tours.
While the other two countries have overlapping claims in the West Philippine Sea and have repeatedly engaged China in the disputed waters separately, Philippine Coast Guard spokesman Rear Admiral Armand Belilio clarifies the visit and exercises are not connected to the maritime issue.
Walang kinalaman nito sa anumang usapin ng problema natin sa West Philippine Sea at hindi ito nakafocus doon sa usapin ng issue.
The Philippine Coast Guard says the visit is a result of the Memorandum of Understanding between the two groups signed in January strengthening cooperation to protect its common interests. The Coast Guard adds it would soon be their turn to visit their counterpart in Vietnam. Bea de la Cruz, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
A U.S. judge rules Google acted illegally to maintain a monopoly of its search engine. In a landmark decision, a Washington, D.C. court said Google violated antitrust laws in trying to maintain its dominance by paying companies billions of dollars to favor its search engines. The ruling paves the way for a second trial to determine potential fixes, possibly including a breakup of Google parent Alphabet. It also gives U.S. authorities the green light to aggressively go after big tech monopolies. Google, which controls about 90% of the online search market, plans to appeal the ruling. Heartbreak in Paris as Filipino pole vaulter Obiena misses the podium in the 2024 Summer Olympics. Obiena placed 4th overall after failing to clear the 5.95-meter mark in the men's pole vault finals. But his finish was still better than his 11th place ranking in Tokyo 2020. And those are the news this hour. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Stay tuned to Bilyonaryo News Channel for more top-of-the-hour news. Catch us on Free TV, Channel 31, and also on our website, bnc.ph. Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top. Good afternoon.